Welcome everybody to this afternoon's chat, I guess we'll call this. We have three magnificent Train the Trainer live graduates from this year's class, and we're gonna chat a little bit. We're gonna talk a little bit about what made them choose Train the Trainer live and what they went through and their journey and what's next. So without further ado, why don't we start with Kathleen? Why don't you introduce yourself and we'll just go around.
Great. Thank you, Dave, for having us.
Yeah.
And it's so good to be here with Sarah and Claudia. I feel so fortunate to be in their presence once again. I'm Kathleen L. I live in Vermont, and I'm heading to Charlotte, North Carolina in about a month to jumpstart my business now that I've been the live TTT, who's giving me all those success principles and how you incorporate into my business. And I'm so excited about what is in store for me, along with my book and all kinds of fun things. What else do you need to know, Dave?
That's good enough. That's good enough.
Perfect.
Sarah, why don't you go next?
I'm Sarah Ruffi, and I'm from Central Wisconsin. I am a practicing attorney who wants to give back and help other women realize that we don't have to make a sacrifice and choose between our family and our career, that we can have it all. And I'm launching Woman Warrior Lawyer, which is why I got into the Train the Trainer Live. Was not so much to teach the principles as to be able to put my own program together, only realizing that my program will incorporate the success principles as a key component of it. So at this point, because of Train the Trainer, I'm ready to take off, and I've gotten a lot more speaking engagements to get out there and teach, and I'm ready to launch my book and have it go.
Nice. Claudia?
So I'm Claudia Fernandez. I'm originally from Mexico City, but I live in Sacramento, California, and I've been here for the last 12 years. I am a real estate agent, and I have mentored new agents in my company. So I started following Jack in 2011, and I was hooked. So I did BTS in 2015, then I did One Day to Greatness in 2016. And 17. And at that event, I thought I'm signing up for the live training because I had done the TTT online in 2015, but I'm not an online person. I can tell you that. So I kind of procrastinated quite a bit. I decided to just jump in and say I wanted to do the live. And I remember Patty saying, "Oh, we're not even offering that at this event." I'm like, "Well, I need to give you my credit card because I'm doing the live one. So you have to just figure it out." So she said, "Okay, well, go to the back, talk to Jody, and she'll figure it out." So
I'll bet you they did too.
I know. Well, and I'm so glad I did it then. I didn't even know how much it was. I didn't even ask. I just said, "Here's my card." And if I would have not done it then, I think I would have come back home and thought about it and go, "Oh, that's just too much money. I cannot do that right now." But so since I didn't know, I just said, "Here you go. Charge me." Pretty gutsy of me, but then that's how I roll. So so what's next is I want to incorporate this into, the business that I'm in, but I'm definitely looking for other opportunities to expand it into the outside world and, more corporations and things like that. So I would
before you get far into that, let's just start we'll just continue with that with Claudia. So you're at the event, and what triggers you? What is there's that magic moment that everybody has that goes, "I'm doing it."
So I was going through a very hard time with my son, and, obviously Sarah and Kathleen know about my story, but I did have, a few years of just turmoil in our family with several illnesses for my husband and my daughter, and then my son kind of coping with it all. So I decided to take him to One Day to Greatness just to get him a foundation before he moved to Mexico. But as I'm sitting in there, I'm going, you just need to do this. It was just instant. I thought I can take this into young people like Christopher, my son. And what are you waiting for? The online program you have not even finished. You thrive on being live. I love the guy. Jack is just that's one thing that really solidified it for me this second week. You know, he's the most genuine, honest, present, humble, big guy. I mean, to get to where he's at and still be able to just present himself so nicely to us was huge. So it just clicked. I think you're right. It just clicked. So not only did I upgrade it at reservation to have the VIP lunch with him when I got there, I'm like, I need to go to the lunch. Like, well, I'm not quite sure we have space. No, you do. It's two of us. We need to sign up. And then from there, just to make the realization that I do want to do the live training. And they, like I said, they were not even offering it there. It was just something that came to mind that I want to do this. So I jumped in with both feet.
There you go. Sarah, how about you? Oh.
Well, I went to One Day to Greatness in Dallas 2 years ago, and I knew that I wanted to do coaching, and they talked about the Train the Trainer online, and I decided I'm going to do that to help my coaching business. And kind of like Claudia, I need the live thing, because then I took my 10-year-old to One Day to Greatness in Salt Lake City last year for his birthday. And I had maybe watched one module of the online program. And so we're in Salt Lake City, and I was just like, I'm going to do this, but in order to do it, I'm doing it live, and they are going to credit me the amount that I've already paid for the online to get this thing done. And that was my moment. But I didn't plan on coaching with the success principles. That was during week 1 that all of a sudden it clicked, that I had this nagging thing in my head. I don't know how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to put my program together and fill a whole weekend just talking about balancing your life, until all of a sudden it was like that aha moment. I work on the practice, but first work on the person, and then take the person's position into their business.
Right.
And that's where I'm going to be going with it. But that aha moment happened during week 1.
Nice. Kathleen?
Well, for me, I'm chopping at the bit here as a recovering politician and someone who's dealt with some emotional challenges myself, with my son taking his life 8 years ago. I've delved right into the emotional fitness business throughout the past 8 years. I've really have spent a lot of time in trying to figure out why people do what they do, trying to improve my life as a whole. And I've followed Jack for years, more on the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, and all those self-help books throughout most of my life I've read. And so I saw that he was going to Boston in April of 2018, which is, yes, this year. And I've never attended any other live event or taken anything online with Jack at all. I've just done the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. And I did the One Day of Greatness the second week of April, first week of April. And when I was there, what clicked for me was his formula. You know, as he was talking, he said E plus R equals O, which is your event plus your response. There's an event that occurs in your life, there's your response, and then that's how you live your life, your outcome. And that was my aha moment for me, because that's what I've been trying to do over the past 8 years, is saying, my son's death, I can't change that, but what can I do to help my life be better and others as well because of that event? And it just was like the click of like, oh my gosh, that's what I've been searching for the past 8 years, of trying to identify or define exactly what I'm looking for and what I want to do for other people. I want to teach people that alone. You have 100% responsibility of your life, and that formula alone is what caught me. And at the One Day of Greatness, Jack was talking about the online TTT and the BTS. But there was no talk at all, like Claudia mentioned, there was no talk at all about the in-person, because he actually grazed over it a bit and said, there is another program, but I believe we're full, so I'm not even going to talk about it. And I had bought the VIP ticket last minute and sat in lunch. I sat down and Jack actually came and sat at my table. Again, nothing happens by chance.
Correct.
And I had the opportunity to have a conversation with him and just had a dialogue and said, if you were me and you did what I've done, which of the two would you suggest that I could do? I had BTS or online TTT. So we talked a little more. And he said, well, I honestly, based on what we've discussed, I'd encourage you to check out the in-person, which is in May, which is 3 weeks from the time that I went to BTS. And when he said that, I looked up the price and I was like, I'm not so sure I can do this. And I actually had to do
You needed to jump in without the price.
Right. Well, what I did is I did a kinesiology test, the body test, where I asked my body which of the programs should I do, and the two programs, the online and the BTS, my body was neutral. But when I asked my body, and I did this in front of a friend, so God, like there's evidence here, or witness here. She said my body just catapulted forward when I said, should I do the in-person? So I went right to the registry and I said, I'll figure this out. I'm gonna, is there a slot left? They said, oh my gosh, there's only one slot left. Like, you've got the last slot.
Oh my God.
So I signed up that day. I did the entire online course in the 3 weeks. I lived, slept, and I slept with Jack. I exercised with Jack. I commuted with Jack. I did everything I could with Jack, unbeknownst to him. He was part of my life 24/7 for 3 weeks straight. And I completed it and did the essays and the test and went to the in-person TTT. And it is the best educational program I've invested in my entire life, but especially throughout the past 8 years, for sure. The best. It has catapulted me forward further in 6 months than I have done in 8 years.
So why do you think that is? Because we have a lot of people that take the online, the train the trainer online, and I would say a good portion between videos and everything is there. But what makes it unique to you three, and anyone jump in on this, what makes it unique that it really pushed you to go to that? I mean, it's not even the next level. It's like 10 levels.
It's 1,000%
Yeah.
further. And Claudia and Sarah can both attest to this because they both have stepped into it as deeply as I have. With Jack being present, the in-person is not only business oriented, the success principles and trying to figure out how you weave that into your day-to-day business. It is also dealing with some deep-seated blocks that we have in our bodies, some emotional baggage that we carry pretty deeply that you don't even realize that you carry until you go through some of these exercises. In the in-person exercises, you do, for example, the last week we did a guilt exercise and a what are you hiding exercise. And Jack has created such a safe space for 75 people, and that means the assistants along with the attendees. He's created such a safe space that the people that are there are trusted family members that you can trust with the deepest, darkest secrets that you haven't told anyone. And the last week, and Claudia stood up, and so did I, and Sarah did as well. All three of us stood up and really talked about some of our deep-seated guilt and some of the things that we were hiding. And we were able to resolve some of that shame, that self-blame, that what prevents you from actually stepping deeper into what could help you be more successful. So I don't think any online program can even come close to comparing to this in-person TTT. And I'll let you guys speak, but I carried on. I've carried for 28 years guilt of the fact that I've carried guilt, and I was able to release that guilt and shame for thinking what I was thinking. And we can talk more about that, but this is not the place at all. So please step in, guys.
So one thing, so I'll second that. The difference for me, I'll just say it, is very simple. When you're going through the training online, it's just you're solo. I mean, you do have Jack, just like Kathleen said, you can definitely sleep with him and exercise with
videos,
him. All those things with him.
Audio.
But we're having the experience by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the main reason. When you are in a room with 50 of students that are going through the same thing, plus an assisting team that has gone through all his programs, his processes, the space that he creates is just, I cannot even describe it. Anything that I would say would be just not giving it justice to what it truly is. Mm-hmm. And he's brilliant. That's the other part. Through all these exercises that Kathleen talked about, the releasing the guilt and the resentment, well, we didn't even know. The most example, the best way that I can describe it is like we were the frog in the pan, with the heat being turned on, and we didn't even realize that it was going to get to the boiling point for a lot of us. Because we started with share a joke, share this, talking gibberish, be funny, come over on stage and share, this sentence in 1 minute, and you start opening up and opening up and opening up. And before you know it, now the heat has gotten turned off and you don't realize it. Now it's share something that is really deep. Now share something that you're holding, share why you're hiding. Mm-hmm. And you're doing that just with partners. And the next thing you know, he's saying, who would like to come up and share something that they still haven't resolved? And, when I got up and shared what I was feeling, I got up to ask a question. And that's the other beauty of doing it on person. I had a question from a facilitator's point of view. I got stuck on one meditation and I said, you were moving on and I couldn't move on from where I was. And, his humor and his humanity is just, he goes, well, go to the back table and ask for the $3 rebate. Since I was stuck and couldn't move on, so we all chuckle. But then he said, well, you just got to trust that when people get stuck, it's what they needed to address at that point.
Right.
And I thought, okay, well, I got my answer, and I was ready to sit down. And he goes, so where did you get stuck? And it was game over. He processed me from that point on. And, the entire room was in tears. Maybe not the entire room, but several people were in tears. You don't get that on the online training. You get mm-hmm. that with whoever he picked at that moment. But when you're experiencing what's going on in a room with 50 people, and then the afterwards, the people coming in and telling you, thank you for sharing that. By you being vulnerable and standing up and actually going through that has given me permission to share what I had that now I need to voice out and get it out. You don't have that.
And he also picks intuitively. Like
mm-hmm.
He has an instinct that just knows. Yeah. Oh, he absolutely does. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's why he picked us. He has an instinct, but go ahead.
Yeah. So you just don't get that the human touch and just having him there, so present together with everybody else, you're going through the experience, and the value sometimes is not so, we get so into our story, I think as well, like I was owning my story and this is my story. Well, once I start learning about Kathleen's story and Sarah's story and the story of everybody, you go, wait a minute, there's so much greater things, more greater pain, not to diminish what I'm going through, because that would always be my pain, but it's like, holy cow, how are these people standing? You don't get that on the online training. You don't get to see the reactions. And when you learn in a group, the revelations that those have are huge. So I agree with Kathleen. It's 1,000, whenever somebody shares something, it's an aha moment for all of us in the room.
Sarah, do you want to talk first?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a quick question. Has anybody gone to another seminar or course like this who have you gone to?
I've done.
I'm not going to bash anybody, but
No, I've done a Hay House event.
Okay.
That it was a spiritual event. It was an educational healing event. It was a little different for sure, and it was very, very good. And I would never condemn it at all. It was
No.
very different, and just Jack has a different presence about him.
It is. It's totally different that way. Sarah, go ahead. I just was curious if anyone could compare it to it.
It's okay. In terms of other events, I haven't done any other programs to teach you how to become a trainer. I've done plenty of Tony Robbins events, and they have similar messages, but delivered very differently.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing about the difference between the online and the live is online, you're a bystander.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Whereas
You're
when
watching.
you walk into that room, you can feel the energy, you can feel everybody's presence, you can feel the trust and the safety, and it's the whole experience, it's the immersion. And like Claudia said, you learn that everybody has a story, everybody has gone through things in their life, and those stories don't define us, but they set the stage for who we are today.
Mm-hmm.
And once we can accept our stories for their purpose in our life, instead of reliving them, and be grateful that they happened, because with every story, no matter how horrific it was, something positive can come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really appreciate that simply by watching the videos, because you don't watch people come to grips with their stories and separate themselves from the story and get to the lesson. And that's what we get by going through the live program. And you can share with other people. And I had somebody come up to me and say, "Thank you for sharing your story. I think we need to write a book because I had a child go through a similar event." And we were talking, and I said, the name of the book is A Song Within Your Heart. So because of that experience and sharing my story, and she shared her story with me, now we're going to help other parents who have gone through similar life-shattering events with good outcomes, but you don't know the outcome when you're going through it.
Right.
You know what else, David, is I think what the in-person does for you is the entire room realizes we're not alone, as all three of us have talked about, but it also creates the self-forgiveness that I've never experienced before. And, you know, you can forgive yourself here and there in different places, but once you realize that, you know, what are you hiding, and everybody walks across the room, and you're not alone, and you realize, oh my gosh, I've been hiding all this time. I guess I'm no different than anyone else. I'm okay, and I can forgive myself for what I've held myself responsible for in the past. So I just think forgiveness is, I think, the key to everything, and it's really about self-forgiveness, because once you forgive yourself, you stop judging you, so therefore there's no more judging of anyone else. It's just a shift in your perspective altogether. And I really think that of course we're all a part of that. It's not just Jack, you know, like, and we're giving Jack credit, but there's Kathleen Seeley, and
there's a whole team.
There's a whole team, you know, like all of them, but not just the team and the assistants. The assistants are amazing too, but really our classmates, you know, like we all blended as one, you know, from all over the country, all over the world. We just blended as one, and we will forever be close. I just don't ever see us not having some kind of connection, no matter where we go.
And what was, if I may add, what was fascinating and really give you peace of mind was that while there was a schedule, when you're doing the online training, if something comes up or something triggers you, you're on your own to figure it out. I mean, you may have to go and
or run and hide.
Yeah, because something, came up and now you are like, okay, so now what do I do with this, right? While you're there, if something comes up, the assisting team is just so well trained that the moment you exit that room, they're like, what just happened? Let's go follow her. What's going on? And let's address that. Nothing gets unaddressed. They just have such a keen eye to recognize that. And, we had one of our classmates that stood up and said some really deep things, and actually Jack spent like 2 hours with him aside. He said, if you're more comfortable, that can be something that we can actually do privately, and he did. You don't have that in the online training. If you get triggered, you get triggered, and who do you go talk to? Your friends probably are gonna say, what's wrong with you?
You don't have that at a Tony Robbins event.
No. And, the other part that for me was huge was to actually have 2 of the assisting team members get triggered through some things that were happening in the room, and to see them be so vulnerable in that space when they, when you see them so big because they've already gone through this work a lot, and one of them actually was Kathleen. She said, that's kind of the wrong impression. We're never done. We're never done processing. We're never done. And to see both of them come from such a deep place, we would have I never got that out of the online training. And you're right. When you have 3,500 people in a stadium, all screaming and jumping, you get triggered. Keep on jumping.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? They have, he has his place too.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
Most definitely.
Levels, there's definitely,
most definitely.
Everybody has a different space, but Claudia's right. When Claudia was actually speaking about her trauma and her guilt, if I can say that's what that she stood up and spoke about. I actually had to leave the room because it triggered so deeply. Like, I'm okay to shed tears in the room, but I could feel that intense pain coming on, and like I was going to have a real episode in the room, and I chose not to take that away from Claudia because I knew that what was happening between Claudia and Jack was exactly what needed to happen. So as I left the room, one of the assistants followed me out, and I wasn't alone, which when I leave the room, my pattern is to be alone because I just want to, do my thing on my own. They wouldn't let that happen, which is just something that's pretty special. And I don't think that's done very often.
Sarah, do you want to add anything?
I think they did a great job.
Okay.
I shared mine on stage during a presentation. Theirs was, they didn't know it was going to be coming out. And it was really powerful.
It was powerful, Sarah. It truly was.
I did my, I had no idea it was going to come out like Sarah and Claudia both said, it was during What Are You Hiding? And, I wasn't even sure I wanted to stand up. But first of all, there's a whole exercise on what are you hiding? And so you actually write down, Jack's assignment for the evening is don't forget to write down what you're hiding. You can be hiding it from your mother. You can be hiding it from your friends. If you're hiding it from the world, but what are you really hiding? And you need to play all out if you're going to do this, because it's really about moving through this so you can be free of it. So I played all out and I wrote down this list of what I was hiding. And I thought, oh, okay, I can write it down because we're just going to talk about it as a group. And then on the side, we can say who we're hiding it from, because I didn't fill out that part of it. Well, the next day when we walk into the classroom, or not classroom, but into the room, we're having this conversation. And then it comes about, what are you hiding? Okay, now getting pairs. And I'm like, oh no.
No.
I didn't want to get in pairs. Not only did I have to get in pairs, but I didn't have a partner. So you raise your hand about the partners. Well, the one person who is the youngest in the class, she didn't have a partner either. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to torture this girl. Like, she shouldn't hear what I have to say. Like,
So I got a question.
by the time I got done, though, I helped her to be free enough to stand up on the stage after I did to express her hiding. Like, I think that's the.
So walk us through that scenario. So you're going one to one.
Yes.
And then you're going up on stage and talking about it?
No.
Well, that's what I mean by turning up the heat.
Yeah.
First you tell yourself why you're hiding the night before, and then you get vulnerable and share with one, and nothing happened, like he says. Once you know it and recognize it, and then you share with somebody else, so it's safe, it's okay, and now is who would like to come up.
So Jack actually says, is there anybody who's willing to come up and share one of their experiences on what you're hiding? And so this woman stood up and shared something pretty deep and pretty, just so telling, we do not know what people are suffering through. Like, you look at her and you'd be like, oh my gosh, I would have never guessed. And spending 2 weeks with her, this was at the end of the 2 weeks, you still wouldn't have known. Yeah. So that gave me permission to kind of like, okay, well, maybe I'll raise my hand. Now, I didn't raise my hand and go like this. I was kind of like, like maybe I'll go up and see. Well, I got to this halfway to this. Jack called, and of course, I think he's intuitive, like I said. And Jack called and said, Kathleen, if you'd like to come up. And I'm like, I got halfway to the stage. I'm like, I'm not so sure I want to do this now. He's like, yeah, you're almost there. Let's go. And it was hard. I mean, like, my body was shaking. I couldn't speak. And I think that the room was crying with me. And it just like, it was an intense, very difficult thing. So to share it is, I had a miscarriage when my son was a twin, and I had a miscarriage. So I thought that I had lost my baby. And actually at the time I was relieved because my marriage wasn't in the best of shape. And I was relieved because I was thinking, okay, maybe we can work through this. So when the doctor called and said, oh, by the way, you're still pregnant, you lost one, but you have another, I was disappointed. And I was disappointed because I didn't want to bring another child into this world with knowing that our relationship wasn't in the best place. 19 years later, my son takes his life. And so I believe with all my heart and soul that we are all connected energetically. We are all energy, and whatever I feel or put out there, other people feel and put out, like, it is intertwined. And I held that guilt for 27 years that I had created my son's death. And I was able to talk through that with Jack and 70 other people. That's a lot of people to be confessing that you think that you caused your son to have taken his own life, And I can talk about this now without tears, without, feeling complete guilt and shame about it, because I was in that live TTT in a very safe space, and Jack helped walk me through, asked additional questions. Do you still feel that way? Do you believe that we have agreements before we come here and that we're all here for a purpose? And what was your son's gift for you? Now that gets me, emotional, because he has given me the gift of healing and to help millions of other people heal, or to prevent this because of what my experience. And in the end, Jack gives you a hug, like a real hug, not just hey, nice job,
right.
Like a real heart-to-heart hug.
Well, what did it for me, Kathleen, was when he asked you, once your son was born, how did you feel about him?
Yeah.
And when you said, well, I loved him, from the moment he was born, I gave him nothing but love. And then what he told you was, then I don't believe you were the cause of that. If you left him until he was gone, he decided to do what he decided to do on his own. So, 9 months, you could have put that seed if you saw it that way. But when he asked you that following question, you gave nothing but love for 19 years. So.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Without a doubt. I mean, and still do, Years later, I know that we're connected today. And I believe with all my heart that he is the one that's guided me to Jack. Like, I just know that with all my heart.
So once you go through something of that sort and you get that aha, that awakening, that breakthrough, how do you, it's going to change your perspective when you coach, when you have talks, when you do workshops. It's going to change when you see someone else off in the corner and they flee the room or they do. How does that change your perspective as a trainer?
Go ahead, Sarah.
Tools. Sarah, go ahead. We're dominating.
It's okay. I do a lot of listening in my job. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
We'll use our mouths.
It gives you a lot more tools to work with, but it also gives you a better quality of question to ask. And you have the compassion, you have the understanding, you have the insight. And I think we do a better job of creating a safe space for them to release and let go and to be honest with themselves and be courageous enough to share it. Because once you mouth it, once you say it, it's real. It's no longer something that you can keep hidden. And I think we now have the gift to share to allow people to release their secret by creating that safe space and asking that right question or right questions in the tone, because so much of communication isn't just the words, it's everything that goes into it. And it's the full package. And we have a lot more tools in our toolbox to be able to do that.
And one thing he added, which was really telling for me, somebody asked, well, what happens with somebody in the room just has an episode or something that we're not able to handle? And his response was, you just got to trust that nothing in the room will be above your qualifications and your skills to solve. Because people are going to play at the level that you play. Therefore, based on your skill set and based on what you've shared with them already and how vulnerable you put yourself out there, they're going to, whoever comes in and plays full out with you is going to come to your same level. So just know that by creating that space based on what you know, there'll be nothing that you will not be able to work through. That was a very, very
comforting
moment for me, because I thought, okay, then I don't have to panic, that I need to have just everything right, and that some people cannot come because based on what they're going to experience, just to trust that you will be able to handle it based on the tools he's given us and how you present the room.
Yeah, and to just elaborate a little more on what Sarah was saying is like, I don't think you're going to find any other coach to be able to give you what these coaches and trainers are going to be able to give you based on what Jack has taught us. Like, we have been able to work through some really difficult, challenging situations, and it only gives us more skills and better ability to intuitively hear and see that there's more underneath what's being said. So you can dig a little deeper, you can calmly go into it, you can create, as Sarah said, that safe space that people can release that baggage that they're carrying, so where they can do their life purpose, whatever that may be.
watching him in action is just invaluable. It truly is. You learn so much from him processing people. There's no price you can pay to have him do that in a room. You just can't.
And for people that don't know, it's 2 weeks. So you have it in the spring, in May, and then once again in September, right?
Correct.
Went back. And then what? What's that?
David. In between.
There's a monthly call in between.
Monthly call in between. I was going to say, tell everybody whoever wants to, what happens in between there.
So you start actually in October. We started in October, didn't we? So call started in October of 2000.
I didn't start until
2017.
Kathleen didn't, but we started in October. There was a call in October, and then I think a call in November, no call in December. And then January, February, March, there were calls to prep us and to let us know how it was going to go week one. And then after the first week in May, then there are calls again, June, July, August. And then, in September, I think there was one last one at the beginning of September setting us up for the week. And then we have 4 more, I think it's either 3 or 4 more calls, 3. So it's October, November, December after. And
so take us through a call. What's a call do?
So we all join, whoever can.
Don't give away all the secret sauce or anything. Just
no.
It was
there's really no secret sauce other than, whoever can join in at that time, they join in. They're all recorded. So if you missed it, you can watch it. And then they usually are to assist us in what's going on. They do some, housekeeping as far as these are some things that you have to get done. So for example, we had for homework, one workshop, one webinar for 1 hour webinar that we had to teach. And the calls are to say, where are you stuck? What are you experiencing? What has gotten you to not either do it or to do it? What are some of the success that people have had? So we all share. And then just basically collaboration, and making you feel like you're part of the team and that you obviously want to help. And, when somebody would get stuck, we would say, hey, call me, I can help you with that. Don't worry, use this platform. This is what I did. This is how I got people to sign up. Don't get too much in your head. So it is really to keep you going and to keep you motivated to, complete your homework and get you prepped for what needs to be done. So if you want to add anything, ladies.
The other thing was going around and sharing what's new and exciting in terms of what we're doing with the success principles. And like Claudia said, if somebody was stuck, I remember one call, somebody had a presentation that was coming up, and does anybody have any suggestions on how to handle this issue with this group of people? And so then people made their suggestions. And little did I know that the one I made, I think I said like 20 seconds or 30 seconds worth, got her out of her head and allowed her to reframe. And as soon as she saw me at week 2, she came up, gave me a huge hug and said, thank you for what you said on that call. And I'm like, you're welcome. I don't remember what I said. So you don't, everybody's there that's supposed to be there at the time, and the right person that you need for the right piece of information just pops up.
So that's another thing you don't get on the online training. Again, you
Right.
get stuck and you're stuck.
Right.
Not that you cannot reach out to their staff and say, hey, I'm stuck here, because they
Right.
have that. But it's just a staff. It's not your peers that are going through the same
Right.
process.
Well, it's not people that know you, because I know that the Train the Trainer online has their own group as well, but you don't have the connection with the people in that group
Right.
like you do in your class.
Right.
Yeah, it's a support call system, I think. Is that, you get stuck in your head a lot. You compare yourself to other people. I'm not as far. There's this like, oh my gosh, I didn't do what I needed to do. Am I not going to get my diploma?
Right.
Am I not going to grad? There's the panic mode of your day-to-day life. Life gets in the way sometimes. And those calls are really support calls, I think. And the staff are all great, but our classmates are just amazing. In addition to the staff, like everybody's just, it's a support system.
So are there any mastermind groups that formed out of the group?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
All of us have one. Yeah.
All of us.
Yeah.
And we're
Within
keeping
each
on
other.
going.
Go ahead.
we're still keeping it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's
and actually
I think,
accountability calls too. You know, I have an accountability partner. I actually have 2 accountability partners.
Wow.
From
you
from
have
the
no
t-
accountability then, huh? Is that what you need 2 people? Is that what?
No,
Just
I think
kidding.
I offered to assist in another accountability
Nice.
situation. So,
Nice.
but it's good. You know, like you stay connected with people, and you know.
Yeah, you start talking the talk and walking the walk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of them,
Yeah.
you know, like Claudia and I have talked about doing a workshop together.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
I'm in the Northeast and she's in the West, you know, like we've talked about it. We are going to follow through with that.
Yeah, we will. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I've talked to someone in Cancun about partnering with a workshop. And so
Well, I can do that one too.
Claudia's sign me up.
I know. Sign me up.
And we're doing that in February, right? Or it's cool. Although you're always warm, Claudia.
Would work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Sarah?
So January or February works for me.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll hold your baggage. We'll take the plane out of Wisconsin down there.
There you go.
There you go.
One of the benefits from this is that you do have contacts around the world.
Mhm.
They no matter where you go, they're real contacts. It's not like, oh, I've got a colleague here, maybe I'll just pick up the phone and see if I can spend the night with them or something. These are real people that you have a connection with, a strong connection with. And I would feel comfortable to call Matthew and say, hey, I'm going to be in,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
you want to partner in a.
I did reach out to one of our classmates this summer because I had an exchange student who had to take an unexpected trip back home to Denmark with a long layover in Iceland. And I reached out to her and I said, hey, I got this kid that's going home. He has a 29-hour layover in your city. He's 19 years old. Can you take care of him? Yep. Just have him take the bus from the airport to the bus station and I'll take care of him. And she did. You don't get that someplace else.
No.
No, you don't. You absolutely don't.
Mm-mm. So what?
And you know what?
Go ahead.
I think one of the things that the aha moments for me is like the amount of pain that we hold, and still stand as if we are the strongest person in the world and put that shield up. Like, you know, there are CEOs, there are all kinds of people in that room who you would never, ever guess the amount of pain that they were holding. Do you agree, ladies? Like, I mean, some of the stories that were shared, like I thought, like Claudia said earlier, I thought my pain was a lot of pain based on not just my son, but my history and my lifetime. Not even close to, and I'm not diminishing my pain at all, like Claudia said, not diminishing what I've gone through. Not even close to what.
No, not even close.
Angel. She's an angel. Like, she's angelic. You know, to look at her, she looks angelic. And to know that she's been through the pain that she'd been through, like, she's just.
And she's only, what, 23 years old? You know, it's just, yeah.
Remarkable. She's amazing.
7.
Yeah. Go ahead. One thing that for me also was an aha moment was to, like Kathleen said, we live in our story and we live in our head, but then it was to see some folks that you thought were extremely strong and had it all together.
Mm-hmm.
And then find out in the calls that they're struggling to even put a workshop together, or to they don't even know where to get people to invite people. And, you know, to me, that was like, oh my gosh. Send a Facebook request, you know, send an invite to all the people that you know in your city. But that just gave me, you know, for me to realize whatever story you're making about people is really your own story. I would have never guessed that this particular classmate would have had the trouble he was having putting a workshop together after what he shared, what he does, where he is, how poised he is when he got on the stage, how comfortable he is. He was totally stuck. that was just mind blowing for me. I don't know if you probably know who I'm talking about, you ladies, but
Yeah,
it was really telling for me to say, wow, I would have never guessed. So that to me told me you gotta just let others share their story, not you make their story for them.
Right.
of who you think they are. They have to tell you and show you who they truly are, and you have basically to stop making any assumptions of how they are or who they truly are inside, because I was totally wrong.
We have the best class ever.
Yeah, we did.
With assistance, of course.
Every class says that, though.
No.
So Dave, did you do the live training as well, Dave?
I have not.
Oh, Dave.
I have not.
Oh my.
Oh my, you're in the hot seat now.
better question is, are you going to do it now?
There you go.
No, I think better question is when are you going to do
Well,
it,
there you go.
Dave?
Pick up the
And we'll
phone
have to
and
stay
sign
tuned
up
for
now.
that answer. No.
Nothing's like it,
There you
really.
go.
I've done a lot of educational programs, like one day, semesters, different places, different things, online. Done a number of online, and nothing compares to this.
And I think it's the way he presents it. And, when we are through this program, we feel that it's the best. But I did my workshop, and I posted this on our group. I did my workshop 1 week before we were supposed to meet for the second week. So I kind of procrastinated. But I got a testimonial from one of the ladies that said, I've paid thousands of dollars for other self-improvement and goal setting conferences. I got, but I never got what I got out of Claudia's workshop in 3 hours. And this is not material that I invented. So, I'm not taking that as a feedback on me. I'm taking that as a feedback and as a testimonial to the program. It's just put in such a clever way that people do get their aha moments on it.
You want to share your 3-hour program with me?
Yeah, I will be happy to do that. Yes.
So did you just say it's not you?
Well, here's the one thing that I want to address with that. And it came also as part of TTT. I read a book that is called The 4 Agreements. And in there it says it's not about you. Don't take anything personal. So if they tell you were great, it's not about you. It's about their ability to recognize things in you that they probably also have on themselves. If they criticize you and if they don't like you, it's not about you. It's about how they feel about themselves and, so I've really started to lead with that. So we were trained to deliver this material. Obviously, we've been intensely trained to deliver in such a way that you're impacting the lives of others. But when I mean it wasn't me, obviously we're all unique in our own way as far as how we present the material and how we do it. And we all got our feedback as far as how great we did or things to improve. So there is a level of my personality that comes through it, but I didn't invent the training. So really when we're in a workshop, it's not about me. See how great of a presenter I am and how great of a facilitator is.
Right.
This is the tools that you have and that you can get if you get his book. Just having that live presentation again and learning, how to present in a way that they really get it is what I believe made the difference, which is, write it down, not share with a partner. Now, who wants to share publicly? A lot of what Sarah said, is the engagement of it, not being a bystander.
Right.
We're all in it together, and we are just teaching what we've been taught. And so to help change people's lives. That's really, I think, all of us here on this call, the 3 of us and you, Dave, like what we're here for is to give that information to the people who need it most so they can change their life too. So this world can be a better place. It's not about us. It's about the world being the best it can be. It's all of us being the best that we can be and sharing that with those who need it most, who are drawn to us. We all know that the 3 of us know the same exact thing. Someone who would be drawn to Sarah or to Claudia may not be drawn to me.
Correct.
You know,
Yep.
it's blending that and giving that to whomever is interested for a small fee.
May we serve.
All right, as we're kind of coming to a close here, why don't we run through and everybody say what the future holds, and if you can, after this, if you can throw the links in the comments section, because everybody's going to be like, how do I get a hold of Kathleen? How do I get a hold of Sarah?
Okay.
How do I, you know? So why don't we who wants to, who are we pointing to? Sarah. Okay, I was like,
No, I'm in the upper right hand corner.
and everyone's screen is different. So I'm like, I don't know who you're pointing to.
Sarah.
Sarah, go first. Take up the spotlight.
Okay, so what's next? What's next is my book is going to be released. It's called Level Your Life. You can have a successful career and a happy family. I am putting together my Woman Warrior Lawyer workshop, and I will be presenting in October for the State Bar of Wisconsin Solo and Small Firm Conference. And I'm starting to get corporate coaching clients in addition to my legal practice. So it's a very busy world here. And juggling 4 boys and a husband.
They kind of juggle themselves.
Yes, they do. Yes, my 5 boys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Claudia?
So what the future holds for me, it's kind of scary a little bit, because I'm deciding that I kind of want to do this full time now, and I cannot do it quite yet. So I'm putting the steps out there and, getting my feet wet with looking for speaking opportunities, which I'm getting, hosting more workshops. And then I am also writing a book that, according to my affirmation, should be done by next year in May. And then just basically continuing to share that message. But I'm really being called to doing this full time. Right now, the idea is to do it in my office, to my entire office, and then to offer it to the entire company, which is about 1,000 agents. And then begin from there to, more opportunities in the corporate world as well, or other real estate companies, but really, really starting doing this as often as possible.
Yeah. Nice. Kathleen.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you, ladies. I have all kinds of things coming up. I just got done a paying job and jumping completely into my business, as I said, and it's Kathleen L. I will put a link there, but what I am doing is helping people with emotional fitness, and it can be in a business. It is nonprofits. It's personal coaching. Anybody who has been through extreme stress or trauma in their life, or who is facing difficulties, can speak with me individually or have me come to their company. I am writing a book. It's called The Road to Emotional Success. And that should be out in the spring. So I'm looking forward to promoting that and being keynote speaker and a one-on-one coach, which I've got a few already. And I'm looking forward to helping anybody I can change their lives.
Nice. Well, thank you for coming on today and enlightening everybody, because there's always questions, right? But thank you, and hugs and love.
Thank you.
Left ear to left ear, heart to heart.
Heart to heart, yeah.
That's right. All right. And
thank you so much, Dave. Thank you for putting this together. Thank you for caring enough to do this and to spread the word. We appreciate that.
Yeah. Kathleen knows I'm addicted to interviews, so there you go. All right. Well, for everybody else, I'll see you at 6:30 tonight back here at Dave Stelma on Facebook. But otherwise, have a great afternoon. And like I said, hugs and love to everybody. If you like this video, like my Facebook page or subscribe to my YouTube channel, or find everything at davestelma.com.